Sometimes your classroom management can seem a bit hit and miss. On the one hand, some activities run smoothly without any effort at all, like an orchestra hitting all the right notes in harmony. While on the other hand, some activities fall into chaos, and it becomes a bit like herding cats. This video is going to help you hit more high notes rather than low notes in the classroom. Hi, I'm Damien, one of Pavilion ELT's vloggers, and in 2021 we're looking at professional development and the type of skills you should be focusing on. This episode is all about classroom management. We're going to cover things you can do before the class, during the class, and after the class to improve your classroom management. By the end of the video, you'll have a bag of tips and tricks to help you manage your classes. The foundation for good classroom management starts before you even hit the classroom. That's right, before getting into class, you need to make a good, strong cup of coffee. After that, there are 3 key things you can focus on. What I like to call the roller coaster, squeezing the lemon, and musical chairs. One of the best ways to limit crowd control problems in the classroom is to plan a well-paced, engaging lesson. In my opinion, a well-planned lesson is like a roller coaster. After planning your lesson, make sure you always have a mix of high energy and low energy activities. If your lesson is sitting down all the time, then add in some high energy activities. Well, if your lesson is running around every minute, then slow down and add in some low energy activities. A good way to check if you have enough variation in your lesson is to use this graph. On the vertical axis, you have the effort involved in the activity, with the top being like high movement activities and down the bottom low movement, and then along the horizontal axis you have the length of the lesson. So ideally you want to see a sort of movement of up and down throughout the lesson, like a good roller coaster line. If you end up seeing a flat line, like a heart not beating, then you probably need to add a bit more variation into your lessons. This idea applies from very young students to adult students. With younger students, you might have more variation or a wilder roller coaster ride, but your adult students still need movement and variation too in their lesson. Another metaphor I like to use is squeezing the lemon. After observing many lessons, I've noticed new teachers often race through their teaching materials, which can cause problems with classroom management. If they slow down and really squeeze the lemon, they could find different ways to engage their students. A simple way to demonstrate this is the multiple ways you can use a song in the classroom. Moreau and Ellis called this concept repeat with purpose from their book, Teaching English to Pre-Primary Children. For a song, you could play the song with eyes closed so students focus on the audio. Teach actions to go with the words. Use different emotions to sing the song. Half the class sings while the other class does actions. Change words in the songs to review old vocabulary. Change the speed of the song to make it either slower or faster. This principle once again applies to all levels and ages. Finally, before the class, seating arrangements can have a big impact on how your lesson goes. I like to use picture cards of students with a map of the seating arrangements on the board. This means when they come into the classroom, they immediately know where they need to sit. It allows me to control who sits with who, and like with musical chairs, each student gets to meet someone different in every new class. Also, how you set up the space will impact how the class performs. My favourite setup is the mingling structure. You have islands on either side of the classroom, and in the middle, a space for students to do movement type activities. Time to start the class. This is where you get to see if all your caffeine and planning was worth it when it goes live in the classroom. There are lots of things you can do to manage things smoothly. As the age of corporal punishment has thankfully come to an end, we need to be more inventive in how we manage our students. There are countless techniques you can use, but in this video we only really have time for 3 of my favourites, which include transitions, giving instructions, and maintaining appropriate behaviour. Transitioning between activities or spaces in the classroom is always a pain point where things could go terribly wrong. Quiet! One way to prevent this is to turn transitions into routines. Spend time in the classroom practicing your transitions. It's important to have bright lines to signal the start and end of an activity. Some ways to do this is to get everyone to hold up their book and close it together, or use a power move to signal the start and end of your activity. Finally, a tip with young learners: if you find yourself moving a lot between the tables and the floor, then stick down some stars or squares which students can sit on. This prevents a big crush or pile on as all the students rush to sit on the floor. Instructions are another pain point for classroom management. If you get these wrong, then you might need to spend another 15 minutes explaining to each individual student what to do. To find out how to master the art of instructions, check out the link for the video above. Finally, during the lesson you need to set and maintain standards. In the book Teach Like a Champion, they suggest using the acronym SLANT. SLANT stands for sit up, listen, ask and answer questions, nod, and track the speaker. This acronym is useful to teach students baseline behaviours in the classroom, and also you can enforce it with a quick check your SLANT. This allows you to get students back on track without interrupting the flow of your lesson. Okay, you've survived the lesson. Now to after the class. Once you're out of the eye of the storm, a good first step is to make some quick reflections. I always have a space for reflection on my class logs, and I encourage my teachers to leave notes about classroom management. What went well, what didn't, and what to change next time. Let's say I had some issues with giving instructions, then what I like to do is change my screensaver, and for example I would leave the steps for good instructions as a reminder on my computer, so whenever I open it, it's right there in front of me. Also, during class, if there were any really problematic students, I like to talk to them after class rather than making a spectacle during class. Often, there's an underlying issue causing the poor behaviour, such as problems at home, the content of the class being too easy or too hard, or not getting along with their classmates. Speaking outside of the class gives you more time to find out the real problems and fix them long term. Also, if you have the luxury of being able to use the student's first language, this would be an incredible bonus too. Hopefully this episode has got you thinking about classroom management as not during the class, but also before and after as well. Before you leave, why not drop a comment about your favourite classroom management technique? Also, remember to subscribe and like and all that other stuff to keep up to date with everything Pavilion ELT. Thanks for watching, and remember the goal isn't perfection, but rather hitting more high notes than low notes in the classroom with classroom management. In the next video, I'll zoom in on another aspect of professional development, so make sure you keep an eye out for that video. See you later.